Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on Design to Innovate, Design Thinking in the Classroom. I'm really glad that you've chosen to attend and learn a bit more about design thinking. Just before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands and waters on which we meet today and pay respect to the ongoing living cultures of First Peoples. We recognize their deep connections to the places where we do our work. We continue to learn from the vibrant and innovative knowledge systems of First Peoples and the depth of their teaching, learning, and education practice. We observe their resilience through times of change and find ways to promote this through our work. We understand that each of us has a role in supporting each other to respectfully walk and work together. Allow me to introduce the speakers for today's presentation. My name is Daniel Arrifin. I'm the manager of the Policy and Governance Unit at the Tech Schools and Student Excellence Branch, the Department of Education. Today, I'm joined by a few of my colleagues who are learning facilitators from different tech schools. In Victoria, there are 10 tech schools and 2 STEM Centers of Excellences. Today, I'm joined by Mim Glasby, a facilitator from Geelong Tech School, Sam Nikolsky from Wyndham Tech School, Shang Wang from Whittlesea Tech School, and Mabel Look from the Knox Innovation, Opportunity, and Sustainability Center. So today's presentation will focus on a few things. The first part will look at design thinking, what it is, and a little bit of history on how design thinking made its way into education. The Department of Education and Training has developed a course called Design to Innovate that is a teacher professional learning that develops skills, knowledge, and mindsets on design thinking and how to implement design thinking as part of classroom practice. This second part will focus on the core structure of Design to Innovate. As part of Design to Innovate, there is a project component that is school-based, where participants take their learnings from the course and develop a unit of work or a project or even a collaboration between subjects back in their schools to implement design thinking. The last part of today's presentation will look at a few examples of school-based projects. And now, to kick things off, here's Mim Glasby, who's going to talk about her design thinking journey and how it has changed her mindset and her professional practice.
Design to Innovate as a program was delivered here in the Southwest Cluster on site over 2 days across a couple of months in last semester. The final day was impacted by lockdown, and subsequently the final day was impacted by a second lockdown, and we had that day 3 delivered today, finally online. We had some amazing results, and I wanted to share with you all a little bit about my own story in the journey of becoming a facilitator as part of Design to Innovate, and also the journey of my participants from this cluster. So my background is actually in science. My background is actually in rocks. I'm a geologist first and foremost, with a dash of engineering, and I followed up my degree with a Master's of Teaching, having a passion for education from a young age. I actually never thought that I was very creative, not being as good at drawing as most of the people that I knew, and not being very good at creating things from nothing that looked good. My idea of creativity, or my idea of someone who would be a designer, was someone that could just be creative and have ideas coming from everywhere, and just instantly think about a million of different ways to do something, and especially to be able to draw and create things by hand. I didn't feel like I had those skills. My idea of designing now has changed dramatically through being part of this program, Design to Innovate, and exploring design thinking more in depth and how it can be used in a range of contexts. So when I started teaching in the design and technologies area and teaching in STEM with my science and technology background, I thought that I would just simply learn design thinking as a process and put it into place and follow it linearly, and that would teach the kids that way. But I couldn't have been more wrong. This program has taught me through my own journey in the training and also in training teachers on site that not only is it definitely not linear, it is in fact actually more like, to quote one of the participants, one of the teachers in my program, more like a Venn diagram of 5 circles. It is very, very circular, it's very iterative, and design thinking has opened my eyes to the creation of programs and STEM teaching for students that come to the tech school. But I have seen this also in the participants and the teachers in our program, even though some of these teachers have also had collectively decades worth of experience teaching in science and maths and design and technologies as well. There is another quote I'd like to share from a teacher in our program who was implementing design thinking as taught through Design to Innovate in her math methods classroom. She said, "It had never occurred to me that the kids were scared of the maths. I've done problem solving for years, but I had never done the empathy part. So in implementing empathy and defining what that might mean for my students studying math methods and how they felt about the class and accessing where they were at with empathy," she went on to say, "My class is so much more of a community now, and they work together so much better." She had amazing results as a math teacher. She had incredible amounts of data and graphs as well, of course, but it was transformative to hear how it had impacted her teaching and her students. So I just wanted to share that with you all, and thank you so much for your time.
Design thinking emerged in the 1960s as a way of tackling complex, multidimensional problems and has been adopted by businesses such as Apple, Microsoft, Samsung, Nike and Toyota. It is a collaborative methodology that involves gaining a deep understanding of humans and has been described as a powerful tool for business innovation. When you take the collaborative, iterative and creative tools used by designers and apply them to other fields, we give a structure to problem solving and instill creative confidence. It is an optimistic approach to the world where problems are framed as opportunities for innovation and solutions can be found through collaboration and experimentation. Design thinking consists of 5 modes: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. With empathy, we start with the human at the centre of the problem and seek to understand their reality, their needs, and their desires. We define the problem through synthesis and analysis and create a problem statement. In the ideate mode, we go wide and see how many potential solutions we can generate. Ideation is a divergent process where the aim is quantity over quality and all ideas are equally valued regardless of feasibility. We then begin to converge and narrow down to potential solutions through prototyping. Designers create prototyping to think about ideas in different ways, as a tangible product rather than as abstract ideas. Prototypes begin as quick, low-investment mock-ups through paper with wireframes and gradually move towards the high-tech with 3D printers or publishing software. Integral to prototyping is testing. User feedback is integral to the iterative nature of design thinking and allows solutions to be refined. Testing informs the next stage in your prototyping process, and the feedback sometimes leads you back to the drawing board. Although design thinking is presented as a linear structure, it should be applied flexibly, with stages being revisited, extended, and repeated until the solution is found. Design thinking is used in education in a variety of different ways, including in curriculum design, design of spaces, processes, and tools, and design of systems, all with the end user being students, teachers, and the community at the central point. It is also a powerful pedagogical model that supports and extends other models, particularly inquiry learning and project-based learning. In inquiry learning, students are asked questions, process, analyse and communicate information. Design thinking pushes inquiry further, where students then act on this knowledge base to generate and test creative solutions, demonstrating higher order thinking. The stages within design thinking can be spread out over an entire unit or project, or can be covered in a single lesson as a design sprint. Individual stages can also be applied independent of each other.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Shang Wang. I'm the lead facilitator at the Northwest Cluster and a STEM educator at the Whittlesea Tech School. I was fortunate enough to be part of the early design stages of this course and had a fantastic insight into the making of the course. Today I'm going to go and talk to you all about the course itself and how it was created. We championed design thinking from the very beginning by using it in the creation of this course. We empathized with our target audience by holding design summits, which consisted of many different stakeholders. Those included teachers who were very familiar with design thinking, those who had experience in trying to incorporate design thinking in the school curriculum and culture, industry experts, and a variety of educational leaders. What we were trying to figure out in those summits was the challenges in introducing design thinking to people who have never heard of it before. We know design thinking is very relevant to today's educational landscape, but how might we communicate the relevance of design thinking to teachers who have never heard of it? How might we convince those teachers to really have a go at starting to embed design thinking into their own pedagogical practices, as well as teaching students those same skills? Those statements are essentially what we took into ideation when we started to plan out the course. We had many different ideas, but what we landed on was the following structure. This was the overall format that was also co-constructed during the Design Summit. Together, we decided that a 3-day workshop spread over an entire semester would be a good way to go. Day 1 was a full immersive experience. We wanted teachers to leave their teacher hats at home and be students for the day. They got the opportunity to experience design thinking as a participant and not focus on possible barriers or planning in incorporating design thinking in their practice. They left day 1 with a small homework task. They were asked to find a project they could use design thinking on. The project could be as small or as big as they wanted it to be, such as using design thinking with another teacher to design a new lesson, or conducting a cross-curricular design thinking project for an entire year level. We left it up to the teachers on how big they wanted to go, but the key takeaway was to empathize with potential target audiences. They were asked to collect data in the form of interviews amongst other analytical data to bring along to day 2. Day 2 would invite teachers to put their teacher hats back on to start thinking how they would implement design thinking back at school. We went through different design thinking tools and explained the rationale behind each tool from a teaching perspective. This gave our participants the confidence and ability to give design thinking a go on their own. We gave our participants roughly 10 weeks to go off and implement their design thinking project back at school. When they came back to day 3, participants were asked to showcase their results to other participants in a marketplace setting. As you can gather, this was a fairly large commitment by the participants. Hence, one of the requirements of the course was that at least one of the participants attending had to be in a leadership position. This was to ensure the project had some sort of leadership support and recognition. Day 3 also focused on agents of change. The idea was now that participants had a go at implementing design thinking at their school, how could they do this on a mass school scale? So we would focus on goal setting, project management, and key stakeholder skills. A 4th day was optional. It was there if participants really wanted to check in with each other after an extended amount of time, potentially forming a community of practice between schools. As a teacher for 10 years, the experience of using design thinking has been extremely transformational, not because of the great framework it provides, but because of the mindset it instills. Before understanding how design thinking worked, I personally would have never considered running anything that wasn't perfect. So the idea of running a prototype would have been very uncomfortable. But now I see teaching in a completely different manner, and the unknown isn't as scary as it used to be.
Hi, my name's Mabel. I'm a STEM teacher at the Knox Innovation Opportunity and Sustainability Centre, otherwise known as Kiosk. In conjunction with the Monash Tech Centre and the Yarra Ranges Tech Centre, we delivered the Design to Innovate course days 1, 2 and 3 in semester 1. I thoroughly enjoyed bringing participants along this journey of design thinking. This journey from participants being students to being design thinking project designers, and then to being teachers who could create a culture of innovation in their school environment. I'd like to share a story or two about our participants' experience in this Design to Innovate course. So, Design to Innovate outcomes. How did the course go? In this photo, participants conducted empathy interviews, and based on what they found out about each other, they had to create an artifact, and then they had to present it to each other. "I created this for you" was their opening line. Here, participants are categorizing their sticky notes after the ideation process. The collaborative process was a key aspect of the Design to Innovate course. Participants were encouraged that anyone can ideate, not just creative people. Design to Innovate Day 3. Day 3 took place around 10 to 13 weeks after the participants had designed and carried out their Design Think project with their staff or students. They were invited to present their project in a marketplace where feedback from other participants was encouraged. The second half of the day was about setting a vision. How might you grow design thinking in your school to create a culture of innovation? I want to zoom in on one of the teacher projects from Mooralbark Secondary College. After day 2 of the PL, participants had designed a unit on design thinking to try it with their students. Some participants had also planned to run a Design Think PL with their other staff. We were really impressed with Mooralbark's tiny house unit design. Not only did they seamlessly integrate all aspects of design thinking into the course to engage students, they demonstrated how design thinking can be a linchpin to connect the school community as a whole. The unit outline they created was actually delivered by an extended contract casual relief teacher in conjunction with a handful of teachers acting as mentors and supporters for both the students and the CRT. When I asked Mooralbark Secondary College what their best learning moments were, they said it was being able to link into industry with the Yarra Ranges Tech School with Amy Stanton, who builds tiny houses. When I asked them about their best teacher moments during the project, they said it was the collaboration and the planning. And their key takeaways from their Design Think project was that it was a portable project, there were minimal resources needed, and most of all, it facilitated active learning amongst the students. Due to lockdown 4.0, our day 3 was flipped from face-to-face to online. We used the Miro board to collect participants' design thinking projects. We were all invited to give constructive feedback. Here is some of the comments on the Mooralbark project. During this PL, participants are always encouraged to give feedback, and that is something that is designed to model to students the way they can give constructive feedback to each other, and then go on and keep prototyping based on feedback and testing. After the marketplace, we asked participants to set a vision of what design thinking would look like in their school over a few years and how they would implement that. They were asked to look at what the enablers were in their school and what the barriers were. And then we asked them to define their vision statement into a how might we. Enablers and barriers help participants recognise the reality of where their school is at, who or what may need to be considered when implementing their design thinking vision. After defining their vision statement, participants then ideated ways to carry out that vision statement forward. After ideating, they chose one idea to then detail further into an action plan. I really hope, along with the other facilitators in our Design to Innovate course, that the schools that participated are able to continue growing that culture of design thinking in their schools.
I hope you have gained a bit more knowledge around design thinking, or even have been inspired to implement design thinking approaches or elements of in your practice, whether it's in the classroom or in your teams in other workplaces. If you are interested about Design to Innovate, the Teacher PL course, just have a look on the ARC website for the links. Contact the Tech Schools branch at the Department of Education and Training, or just connect with the closest tech school in your area. And lastly, I leave you with this quote: differences are critical for innovation. Design thinking gives us the social guidelines to have conversations across these differences. It's one that encourages differences in our students and in our workplaces. It's one that encourages us to teach our students how to think, not what to think. Thank you.